So let us insist that the law must be implemented, must be enforced to the latter. Because in Kenya we have a lot of laws that are gathering dust on the shelves, doing nothing. We want them implemented, as my brother has said.
Then it talks about the designated, the non-smoking areas, that there have to be supervision for that, and any manager of that place is held liable when violations happen within their area of control, and then also provides that a certificate of compliance has to be provided, or to be, you have to get a certificate of compliance for you to be able to provide a designated smoking area that meets the requirements of the Act.
Allow me to invite Dr. Nato, who's going to take us through a multi-sectoral approach to tobacco control.
Just as Ochieng has said, is it the Ministry of Health issue? I was trying to listen to the people who are around. Of course, there is the CSO, but I didn't get from other government departments. I don't know, mainly health. Okay, that's what I'll talk about, and let's see what it says. Now, that question was asked. I thought you stole my presentation. Why tobacco control? Why are we so bothered for tobacco control? Why not potato control, for example? Because we eat potatoes, we use tobacco, and so on. Do you know that it's only man on Earth, on planet Earth, that uses tobacco? Only man. No other animals or whatever use tobacco. It's only us, and all those other animals know that it is poison. So, animals are more clever than us? I don't know. Tobacco kills more than 7 million people each year. Tobacco use and exposure, 7 million people. How many people die each year as a result of HIV/AIDS? Who knows? In the whole world, HIV/AIDS is about 1.2 million people. Tobacco, 7 million. And out of that 7 million, almost 1,890,000 people die as a result of secondhand smoke. We all know what secondhand smoke is. You are enjoying yourself, your cigarette and so on, but I'm somewhere doing my own things and I'm smoking I'm inhaling your smoke. That is the 890 people who die as a result of secondhand smoke. Emma has mentioned tobacco is a leading cause of death, illness, and impoverishment. Almost all the nurseries of tobacco plant are along the river banks. So you find that you pollute the water, and the animals that you keep, your only cow that you keep, will drink that water and get polluted. You also get water from that river, you get polluted, and so on. And then the curing of the tobacco leaves. Or if you go to areas where they grow tobacco, you'll find that you hardly find a tree. You only see a few shrubs here and there. There's no tree standing because it is used for curing. That's how the environment comes in. And of course, if we do effective tobacco control, we shall provide resources for other sustainable development efforts, leading to a win-win action that can help the country achieve the SDGs, which you all said that you know what the SDGs are. The FCTC. It is the Bible for the Christians, and I think the Quran for the Muslims in terms of tobacco control. There is emphasis on 100% smoke-free environment. Prohibit sales by minors has been mentioned. Higher taxation on tobacco products. This is very important so that we keep the youth away, because the industry hunts the youth, and the moment you try the first puff, you get addicted because of nicotine in it, and then they'll have a client forever.
Front groups, these are people who come as though they're not associated with the industry. they have got their own best interests and the interests of the country at heart, and they want to be involved in tobacco control discussions. And 4, I'd like to talk about illicit trade. So, first of all, when I talk about interference with policy and legislative process, the tobacco industry have got a way of infiltrating the system. When we want to come up with laws and regulations, they have ways of maybe wanting to influence how these things work, so that the laws that will come out will be favoring them, or won't be as harsh to them as would have been intended. Or if there are laws in place that have been put, they want to come up with ways to delay their implementation, or where possible, to stop them completely. We have some examples. A few years back, there was this investigative piece that was done by Panorama, and it was on the BBC, that said how some of our ministers were compromised, and they were being funded, their trips were being funded by the tobacco industry to go abroad and stuff. And you'd ask yourselves, why weren't the tobacco industry supporting provincial commissioners or district commissioners to go abroad? They were targeting influential people in the legislative process. Why? When they do this, they sort of have a say on how the laws come out and how they are implemented. We also have what they come up with TBT argument. TBT is technical barriers to trade. When the issue of labeling of tobacco products came about, when we were talking about 70% of the cigarette packs being covered in warnings, the tobacco industry came up with the argument that we have got trading zones, maybe the Comesa and such, and some countries in these areas don't have such labels, don't have such requirements. So if you require us in Kenya to maybe do this and that, we will be forming, by this labeling strategy, will create TBTs, technical barriers to trade. And these are further through their WTO and stuff. Also, we have got bills at county levels. We've now known that we have got devolution and we have got bills. And for the past few years or so, we've had bills by MCAs, by other people coming to the county levels. And we have got people sponsoring bills that are touching on tobacco issues. And some of these bills, when you see the person presenting the bill and what the bill is talking about and the content of the proposal, you quickly put 1 and 2 together and say, and have a view that someone influenced the coming up of these proposed bills. All right?
We want to make a very loud statement in this country that we can do it. That with all whatever gymnastics that you can do, there are a few Kenyans who can stand up and I can say that. I think that's all. And for you guys who are from the county, why can't you do the same? I mean, sometimes in history, you require to be part of the history for having created something different from what other people have been doing. So we want to see some of you also doing this. For example, why are you not implementing the act in your own places? Recently, we are having a meeting with some of you, the county guys I'm seeing here. I think the law is there. What we want to see is action. I also realize that I'm supposed to have asked, if you are industry here, I don't think I really owe you an apology. I even realize that we are wrong overdue to ask for the 2%. Sorry, we have already signed the money for the money anyway. That's within the law, so you won't be able to say that we are doing something different there. So we have already asked for money from industry as it was envisaged in the law, and that letter has been signed by none other than the minister. So we must do it. So all of us will do it, and I didn't bring anything different. Pauline, my colleague, is here. I only wanted to be part of this process to say we are extremely committed. And if there are any questions that I'm supposed to be answering, Pauline will answer on my behalf, and even my good colleague here, and Emma, this is part of the system, you can answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ombacho. Well, Now, I'm sure, maybe I should ask, are there any reactions from for the panelists, the presentations that have been made? Yeah? Maybe we can take some quick ones, then...
I'd like to appreciate the speakers. I have 3 questions. My first question is to Emma. You talked about the opportunity at the county level to raise revenue for tobacco control through licensing. And I would like to request for more information on how this can be done. And then I have 2 questions for Dr. Neto. My first question is on Empower. Based on the understanding that Empower is supposed to have been crafted along the FCTC, the provisions of the FCTC. But when I look at it, and I stand to be corrected, I find it sort of, for lack of a better word, like watered down. For example, why is it not addressing supply reduction? And yet the FCTC is very clear that through supply reduction, we can be able to control this epidemic. And also when you look at the Empower, it says nothing about tobacco control interference. But if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I would like to understand why it doesn't say this, and how then, as tobacco control advocates, do we proceed? Do we focus on the Empower, or do we just go with the provisions of the FCTC? And then you talked about public-private partnerships for tobacco control, and I would like to request for examples. If we see how other people have done it, then probably we can come up with our own public-private partnership.
As regard to graphic health warning, because I'm meant to understand that the way the pictures are appearing in the tobacco packets is a little bit distorted. What the industry, what the industry is putting may not be as clear as the way we intended to be. So is there any observation as we've observed as CIN?
Why Empower and not the FCTC in full? I'll just give an example. Like, for example, you have a national strategy to implement NCDC, for example. NCDC is non-communicable diseases. And under that strategy, you have like maybe 10 strategic activities. So you prioritize and say, actually, this is how we shall do it. If we do it this way, then the impact will be big. The most important thing is, if possible, can the country implement the entire FCTC? But we have to start somewhere. And starting somewhere is this Empower strategic activities. You talked of supply reduction. If you look at T is taxes. If you increase the taxes, you reduce the supply to the youth. You know, if you look into each one of them, you will see that actually there is not focusing on only one article, but several articles in the FCTC. So it is focused, and this is prioritization. Not that we only focus on power and forget the entire FCTC. Lastly is the PPP, public-private partnership. Is there any that works? And if so, which one? Public-private partnership, non-communicable conditions. For example, in general, tobacco is a leading cause of NCDs. And so NCDs in general. How do we implement? There are no funds for this area. So you get the private sector to support. I think it was which year, I forget the year, 2014 or so. Standard Bank supported. That is our private sector. In Kenya, Standard Bank supported. We are saying that you look, okay, public, private, the private sector that you feel this can support NCDs, tobacco control, and so on. But the only private sector we should not go to, other than through the legal aspect that Ombacho has just said, the 2% that the industry is supposed to give back to the government. You don't ask the tobacco industry for support, no. But other private sectors, of course, alcohol industry is another one you don't go to, but other private sectors, you are free to work with them. The other area is, for example, if I could just expand a little bit, the food industry. We have problems with the food. Food is causing a lot of NCDs. Should we work with the food industry or not? The advice is, let's work with the food industry in a way that we direct them. Salt, please reduce salt like this. This oil, use this particular oil, and so on and so on. So yes, it is possible to work with public-private partnership, and of course, CSOs, I don't know whether you are private, or you are public, or you are aware, but CSOs is number one on the list that we have to work with.
The issue of licensing is a sensitive issue. But the reason why it comes up is because even when Dr. Ombacho was speaking here and he asked the guys from the counties why they are not implementing the act, I bet you if they were given an opportunity to respond, one of the biggest issues would be about resources. They don't have resources, and resources means people, it means money, because these people have to be compensated for their time. It means even equipment and transport for the enforcement people to go about the county to implement. So implementation requires resources. At the national level, even though we have tobacco taxation, which has not yet been translated into coming back to tobacco control issues, but we have tobacco taxation, that's an opportunity. We also have the Tobacco Control Fund, which is now being actualized through the Solatium compensatory contribution of 2%. So at the national level, once that is cleared, then it's covered to a large extent. But if you go to the county and tell them to implement and they do not have the resources, then it becomes a challenge. So one of the proposals that we are putting across is the issue of exploring the licensing as a way of generating revenue. So it could be licensing for retail, for the sellers. It could be licensing for distribution. Licensing for manufacture is captured at the national level, so we are not touching that. So we're talking about the things that are being done at the county level, which could be either distribution or retail. Those are the two major things. So if we're able to get resources from that, then it could go a long way in terms of providing the necessary resources for that. And we are looking at this from the I talked about the example of alcohol control. And I know in alcohol control there are challenges where some counties have focused so much on the revenue generation as opposed to the public health perspective. But we are saying if we're able to strike a balance between generating that revenue and also ensuring that there is a focus on public health goals of tobacco control, it's possible to have revenue generated at the county level being taken to tobacco control activities that are supposed to be done at the county level, such as enforcement and even rehabilitation, providing rehabilitation services at the county level. So we've engaged on this issue on a number of counties. Some are supportive, some are not. Of course, there are concerns about whether it's going to be an additional burden, for example, for the retailers and all that. But that's a discussion that must be had, and where that opportunity exists and it can be explored, then for us we feel that it's one of the ways that the issue of resources at the county level can actually be addressed.
Thank you, Anne, for your question. Your question was, what are some of the emerging issues as concerns graphic health warnings? Okay, the graphic health warnings is one of the part of the issues why the tobacco industries went to court. Okay, it is one of the things that they were trying to contest, and even during the court process, we were able to show that some of their own brands, I think it was Safari, some of their own brands were already implementing the very things that they were trying to contest in court. As concerns the impact on consumers and the awareness, that has been created by these graphic health warnings, the Kenya Tobacco Alliance made an exhibition at the CBD near, how do you call that CBD? Archives, Kenya Archives. And we were able to ask some of the people, the passers-by. By and large, many of the consumers are now more and more aware of some of the impacts of the tobacco products because of the graphic health warnings that are now being put in the cigarettes.
For the results of the survey, we saw that many of the students are aware of the tobacco products, and shisha being one of them. And for most of the students who replied to this survey, we found that many of them do not use the tobacco products, and that's including the cigarette smoke and the shisha as well. Nevertheless, there was a population that does subscribe to these products, and what came out very clearly is that they would like to stop, considering they are well aware now of the effects of these products. And for us, what was a good outcome of the forum was the development of the national guidelines for the tobacco dependence treatment and cessation. We found that it was a good thing that the ministry was able to define this area clearly, because even as students in the health sector, we weren't very sure how to go about this, and even how to encourage the patients who visit the hospital how to stop. So for us, this document is very useful, and it's really going to help us in our future careers to try and fight against tobacco and even to be involved in the prevention.
My issue is, I need some clarification. Even if a county government comes up with a bill, even if it will be accepted by the governor to be an act of the county government, which is like contravening the Tobacco Control Act, which one supersedes the other?
My question was to go to Dr. Joyce Nato. I love the fact that she said that several families are the basis of the society, and that we should have a whole government approach to the issue of tobacco control. But my question was mainly to the Ministry of Education and the World Health Organization, especially the Kenyan branch. I wanted to understand, is there anything that you guys are doing to disseminate this information, especially to the community level? Or do you have trained personnel who can train or teach people on these matters?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel that as a country and the counties, we have not done so well. We have not been ruthless, despite the fact that we know that tobacco as it is and in any form is very dangerous, and we lose a lot. Actually more than we get in terms of the taxes that we are talking about. Human health, environmental, animals, blah, blah, the rest. Now, my area is basically on the issues of the research. It is important, I don't know whether it has been done before, but if it has not been done before, then it is important that we do some research in this densely, the tobacco growing areas. One being Migori. We should jointly do this so that when we are launching after the analysis, we are launching the outcome of this, then it can play a major advocacy and sensitization role in controlling the tobaccos. Two, we've seen before in the US or elsewhere where, due to this research and the studies on these people who have succumbed to lung cancers and the rest, due to the tobacco, are getting heavy compensations. I know our people are dying silently down there because they are not able to do that. But as institutions, can we undertake this activity so that when we can link the growing, the smoking, or otherwise, so the tobacco activities with the deaths or the suffering, we can highly publish it. The press are here. They are very good in doing that. If we launch publicly, publicize that, then I'm very sure it will have an effect on the growing activities, the smoking activities, and the rest.
Maybe let me start with the research. It is important, very, very important. If we can get information showing that this particular person grew up here and has been using this, you show facts and so on, you are liable to sue the company. But they are very tricky, I think. I don't know whether it was Emma who was saying that they are very tricky. They have very highly paid lawyers and so on that they really go around and so on. But it is possible. That's number one. And of course, the industry at one time said, because you mentioned about the US and so on, at one time they were taken to court and they were told, why are you putting nicotine very high in products that are sent abroad? And abroad is Africa, the sleeping giant, they call it. They said to them, the words were bad. They can die, but we make money out of them. The nicotine that comes to developing countries, the nicotine in cigarettes is higher than the nicotine in the developed world. Why? Because our laws are weak, our implementation aspect is poor, the enforcement is weak, and they know how to corrupt us and so on. But if you can be able to do research and show, they are bound to pay you and pay you heavily. Ministry of Education. When we started tobacco control early in 2003 and so on, we were going to the Ministry of Education, to schools, to educate them. You know the smoker's body? How many people have seen the smoker's body picture? Yes. We used to print them and take to schools and educate the children and so on, because the Global Youth Tobacco Survey was showing that children as young as 7 years start smoking. So it is important. And the reason why I was saying it is a whole of government issue. It's not a Ministry of Health issue. All of us must work together and see to it that we control.
Press releases. I know sometimes media health issues to menyanyaswa, as in people don't give it priority. But there are a few health journalists who wants to bring out these issues, right? And again, I'll repeat, in every media station, there is a health desk. Ask any media station, so cooperate with us. When we call you, there are media ethics. I will brief you. I've ever had an interview with him. Before I bring you on set, I have to brief you what I'm going to ask you. I have to give you the questions. If you're not happy with something you've said, I can edit it. Because I can't air something that you don't want. So that is another thing, fear of media. When you see us, you think it's about exposing. We also educate. We also educate. We inform, we influence, we educate, we expose. So many people look at the exposition part of it. No, we educate. So if you're not comfortable about something and I air it, you have the freedom to sue me, right? Yeah, so about press releases, I'm very clear on that. So what happens if today tobacco trends? Tomorrow every person will be talking about tobacco. But when do we talk about tobacco? Only when it's World No Tobacco Day. That's when we talk about tobacco. And then after that, everything else is down. So let's also invest in social media. It's not very expensive, it's not. I can tell you for sure. It only needs to trend once, and that's all. Because that's how we get to know these stories too. When we see something trending, then we come to talk about it. So I think I've made some sense either way. Thank you so much. That's all I had to tell you about media and tobacco control. Hope it was helpful. Thank you so much.
So we shall look at the tobacco control as a tool to development. That when we engage in tobacco control, then we are actually aiming at sustainable development. Now, together with this, you might reflect on the sustainable development goals, but that's not exactly what I'm going to start talking about here. I'm looking at it from another angle a bit, but very closely related to that. So when we look at all that people have shared here, then you'll agree with me that we are all in unity. That when we fight this vice of smoking, of using tobacco in all its forms, then we are aiming at a better community. We are aiming at a better people. And as we always know, health is wealth. If we take care of health, then we are actually going to create wealth. And that's why I'm starting. That if we want to be people that can boast about development, then we must first take care of our health. Now, we have been told here by Dr. Nato and others that tobacco affects every part of the body. Every part of the body, and I'm happy that we have medics here who can prove that.
We are grateful that now as a university we are thinking other than the general approach to all the drugs, that we can also pay attention, close attention to the tobacco abuse. Now, because there are policymakers here, and because there are several counties here, and I believe that there are, either there's a full-fledged university in every county, or there's a constituent college in every county, if I'm not wrong. I'd like to suggest a few things regarding policies, Madam General. In the universities right now, previously, the Commission for University Education was only keen about private colleges and what they were doing. But now it has moved to regulating everything that goes on in both private and public universities. And we are grateful because of the work that Dr. Mutanyi is doing, even if sometimes it pains. So I would like to suggest that if Q, or Commission of University Education, would make it mandatory for every university to submit a policy that regards tobacco use. That will go a long way of at least eliciting the debate and seeing to it that the policies are implemented at every university, whether public or private. To the government and the counties, please would like to request that you also target to allocate some of the resources towards the campaign against tobacco use in the universities. I am particularly touched in a negative way regarding the fact that smoking is increasing among the girls. And I was asking Kina Mudembo and the others, why do you think girls are getting lured into smoking shisha and all the other things? And they say because it looks stylish. It looks like it has class. And so the girls want to prove that they are stylish and they have class, and so they start smoking because they want to prove a point. Some of them are told that they'll maintain this figure by smoking. And so we'd like to target some of your goodwill and knowledge from the county levels to every part of the university. And I'm particularly also interested in the fact that the young adults at the university are either courting to marry or they are pregnant with their first child. If we could disseminate the information regarding the dangers of tobacco to the pregnant or expectant mother, and the chair did a very good job explaining to us about children that are born, the effect on infant mortality rate, and the way it affects the ability to study of the child. Very interesting. If this information can be enforced by the counties, that would be very nice. I also learned over lunch hour that Kina Mudembo have really concentrated on the USIU. We would like that effect to spread. We have a campus at Athi River. We would like that the county, the Machakos County, would engage as much with our on-campus and off-campus students. The danger with the off-campus is that even where universities have decided that it's going to be drug-free zone, whenever they rent off-campus, they are at liberty to do everything that they want to do. So if the counties could reach out to, as much as they are reaching out to the adult population, if you could reach out to the young adults off-campus, we would really feel supported in this fight. If you could tell the government, Madam Pauline Jeru, not to lower the tax on the harmful brands of cigarettes, we would also really appreciate that. And again, if it is possible to make life skills a course that is mandatory for every university student, even though it has 0 credit, that every student must do it, so that we are not influenced by every wind of change to feel that we cannot be able to make any decision on our own. Especially the girls who feel that they have something to prove, that they are independent, they are no longer under the surveillance of the parents. The Education Ministry has made it mandatory to have life skills taught in primary school, in secondary school. We would also suggest, and humbly so, that a course on life skill be made mandatory for every student, so that this information, by the time you're confronted by a decision making, you're already equipped about the dangers of entering where you want to enter before you do. And having said that, I want to appreciate so much the organizers of this forum, and we would like to be fully included in any participation. If you feel like any of the university people can also help talk to other young people, we would also like to participate, because we want a Kenya that is tobacco free. I am particularly interested in the tobacco free kids, you know, where the child organizations are involved. If we are really serious about making this nation a tobacco free, then just like he was saying about the chair that is passionate about it, we must go an extra mile talking to everyone regarding the effect of tobacco. And having said that, thank you very much.
My name is Gilbert Muchiri. I work with Mr. Chabai as my chairperson. Actually, I'm the secretary for the committee. I have to say that in Karinge, we have also tried, but we still need to do more. We've started by installing control committees right from the county, where I'm saying I'm the secretary, and my chair is here. We have them also in the sub-counties, and actually I've been involving them in our social organization in control of the tobacco. And as he mentioned earlier, that as a county we are proud because we have a bill that was domesticated from the National Act of the Tobacco Control. I say that's a step that we've been able to carry on, and actually we are proud of that. We've had several comments here that counties are unique, and the counties have their own problems. We have also our problems, and actually the major challenges that actually we are facing is the resources. As it was mentioned here in the morning, that all that part of the resources, from the staff shortage, lack of finances, lack of equipment, all actually we are suffering from that. We normally keep on budgeting, but as he mentioned, that we don't have a sufficient budget for the tobacco control. We normally actually anchor it on the normal activities that we have in the county. We ask for an impress, but we rarely get these things. However, we've been able to do a number of activities. I know he's aware of everything. We've carried out public awareness through partners who have been able to assist us here and there, but not really to that extent that we are okay. We still have a big gap that we need to bridge. In this first piece here, I want to say that the approach that we used is the same that we are saying today, that we need to have a sectoral approach in order actually to control tobacco in all the counties. I want to say that in Tharaka County, we have actually the political goodwill is there. But as I mentioned, I'd say that the big issue is the lack of resources. We have resources, we can be able to do it. When it comes to the issue of what was mentioned by pouring, smoking in the public, that's a challenge. And actually, I'm anchoring it still on the resources. I know, as she mentioned, that you can't wait to see a number of people smoking in the public. It is there. But we are trying as a team, as much as we can to do it and control tobacco in our country. The other part is that we also, at one point, produced actually a journal in our county. My chairman is aware. We did it only once, and from there, the same challenges I'm saying actually continued. If you could have more funds, I know we can be able to do more and actually enlighten our people. Knowing it in mind that the second largest tobacco company, the proponent, comes from Tharaka. That is a mastermind. You know, the challenges of the legal tussles are still with us, and we are there. Through the most secular way, we are saying we can be able to affect all this and control tobacco in our county and other counties. So, police, that's a short I have for Tharaka.
In Machakos, I'll start with the enabling tools. We have we've been disseminating the policy and the policy guidelines, and as has been said, sometimes there are few challenges here and there, but we have tried to do our best. Of course, the approach we gave was the multi-sectoral approach, and working together with some of the key relevant departments like the Ministry of Education, the county, the relevant county departments. We have been able to have a kind of a multi-sectoral team that has been spearheading the issues of tobacco control. One of the issues we made sure we share with them was the issue of the Tobacco Control Act and the other issues that are related to the control activities. One of the main challenges has been the issue of resources, but we have been trying our best with the minimum resources that are available. On the issue of enforcement, we've been trying a lot doing the doables, like the enforcement of signage, issues of symbol cells, all that we have been trying to enforce. But we have been trying to come up with something like what we saw in Nairobi, a tobacco control unit for our county. But we have been facing a bit of challenges here and there. We did a bit of sensitization using our CEC to a few of our town assembly members, but we've not yet gotten the support we have always been asking in terms of funding. Because you know, to enforce effectively, you need to have the officers trained properly. You have to have the necessary financial support. But we are trying, we are somewhere. The other issue is public awareness. For the public awareness, we have been doing a lot in terms of disseminating the information. Actually, we've been assisted a lot by the ministry in terms of IEC materials like the smoker's body and a few of other materials which we have been using to disseminate, using our active school health program, which has been running. But there is still room for more in terms of involving other key departments like agriculture and other key stakeholders. Of course, at the county, we have a county stakeholders forum where we have also been using them to disseminate this public awareness. We have also been sharing the materials we have with them, although we still need more materials in terms of reaching the community and especially the schools.
Joyce Lanetia. I'm Joyce Lanetia. And so I was just trying to say that the Teacher Service Commission has a division because of the alcohol and drug abuse. And so when we talk about the alcohol and drug abuse, the tobacco is hidden under the drug abuse. And this is our first time actually to be invited in such a forum. And we are very excited. And we really want to work together with you because, as the chairman said, that mwanafunzi akiambiwa kitu na mwalimu anashika ya mwalimu. So we are targeting the teachers, and then our teachers will get to the children. And what we have been able to do, and at least I've heard that the county government, they are here and they are doing so much. We want to work with you so that we are able to reach to our teachers. Each and every teacher. We've been going to the counties just to talk about the drug abuse and to just tell the representatives not to write, to actually for the teachers not to be interdicted. So what we do, they come here and then we cancel them and we are able to send them to the rehabilitations. But one thing we have noted at the rehabs, we don't have the tobacco program. So yes, we are sending a teacher because they are using maybe alcohol, they are using other drugs, but now the tobacco, that teacher maybe will come out still using the tobacco. So I don't know how that one will work, how the Kenya Tobacco Control Alliance will work together. And also we've been able also to work with the principal, the head teachers, the head of departments, and the guidance and counseling teachers. So the county, the ones that are in the county, we would kindly ask that we can link together with our county directors so that we are able to get to the schools and to save the child. Because if that teacher has the knowledge, has been sensitized, they will be able to get to our children and it will be a tobacco-free country.
My name is Maseki. Maseki. I'm a social worker by profession as well. And I've worked so much with the Reach Out Mombasa, which deals with substance abuse. So what I know is that there has been a committee that has been formed to deal with the tobacco control in Mombasa. But just like everyone is saying, nothing much has really been achieved due to resources like we all know. Now, what we intend to do is that we want to ask the county technical working group to engage key stakeholders in pushing the tobacco control agenda. I guess that is mainly what most of us want to do, basically. Thank you.
Madam, for the update, it is good you have confessed that the shisha is very much rampant in Mombasa. Your brother there almost lied to us that something is being done.
No, he said in public it was.
Shisha has nothing to do with the public. It is very personal, very individual. You just get there, have a pub, and then I can get. So it is not like the cigarette. So you cannot say that it is not in public and it is very much in clubs and bar and restaurants. Actually, that is where these young people go. At least you have confessed, and we would wish we send you as our ambassadors and see in a small way. You just begin, and probably our girls and boys will be saved. Anybody from Vihiga County? Oh, sorry, Bungoma. Yes, Moses. Have I forgotten your name?
No, this is Moses.
Okay.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ombogo.